is a national radio personality. He's hosted his own TV show and has been a Jewish educator for over 25 years. He is best known for his interactive and entertaining approach to teaching seminars. He's been on our staff for 6 months and has already become one of the more popular teachers in our program. He's a sought-after speaker and trainer who has reached millions as an established and national and local radio personality. He's a former weekly TV talk show host and author whose book appeared as a focal point in an award-winning movie. He'll tell you more about that. His motivational messages were heard daily for 5 years on hundreds of radio stations and listened to by millions, which makes him one of the most listened to speakers in America. Without further ado, to introduce our talk show today, your Jewish side, welcome Andy Greenberg. And you're an audience, so let's hear it for him.
I met this lady when I was 15 years old. It happened to be that I met her the day of my 15th birthday. And I always look at her as a present from upstairs with a no-return policy and a lifetime warranty. And she always applauses for me. So we're going to do this like it's a real TV show, like it's a real talk show, because we're going to have opportunities to meet some magnificent guests, which is why you're here to listen to them, to learn them, to understand from them, and give them a marvelous round of applause when this wonderful lady goes around and says applause. And by the way, we're also going to be transmitted directly to Omaha, Nebraska, where one of our guests are going to be telling us something that's going to be coming up about a musical play. But first, let me tell you something. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska. How many people here have lived in Omaha, Nebraska? Raise a hand. All right, well, I want to tell you, they can probably vouch for me that when I left Omaha approximately 5 months ago, I was not the last Jew in Omaha, Nebraska. As a matter of fact, I left behind 6,000 Jewish people. But here's the thing that confused me. When Carol and I first went to Omaha, Nebraska, I wanted to find a Jewish community. So I made some phone calls and I said, how many Jewish people live in Omaha? And the answer was very simple, 6,000. Now, 25 years later, when I left, I said, how many people are we leaving here in Omaha, Nebraska? You heard the answer. The answer was 6,000. But I got to tell you, the transition here to this part of Florida was magnificent. But I've got to tell you the story first. This goes back when I lived in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Anybody from Manchester, New Hampshire? All right, somebody likes Manchester. Thank you, sir. Anybody from New Hampshire? We'll continue on. All right, we've got one person there. So I had a job in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I was involved in Jewish education. So this non-Jewish person comes over to me one day very innocently and says the following, Andy, can I ask you a question about the Jewish religion? And I said, you know what, I'm going to do my best to answer it. I said, what's your question? She says, I've studied the Jewish religion very carefully. Nowhere can I find the answer to my question. And I said, what is the question? She said, is it a law that you must send your children to Jewish camp? And I said, well, when did you ever come up with that question? She says, every Jewish person I know goes ahead and sends their kids to Jewish camp. I said, well, it's not a law, it's a tradition. And that's what we all do. But then I went ahead and I studied, and I said to myself, wow, there are only, believe it or not, 90,000 children that go to Jewish camp during the year for 197 summer camps. And then I said, there's a question she forgot to ask me. And actually, I need the answer from you, because I can't find the answer anywhere either, not in any one of our texts. Is it a Jewish law that if you're from New York, New Jersey, or Boston, or from the Northeast, when you retire, I haven't even finished, that you must retire in southern Florida? Where is it written? And by the way, do you know how many Jewish people there are in southern Florida at this very time?
6,000.
No, not 6,000. There are 6,000 in one complex. There are 515,000 Jewish people that somehow made a halakha, made a Jewish law that says, hey, when it's time to retire, I know where I'm going to go. So here we are in this beautiful area, and of course I'm trying to compare where you shop. Now in Omaha we have a lot of people, and we have supermarkets. But on every corner, do we have a Publix? No, we don't. Here you have a Publix on every corner. On every corner you have a bank. But here's what confuses me even more. Next time you go to a shopping mall and you see the Publix there, please, you might already know this, how many nail places are there? I mean, what is it with us? Do we have too much time on our hands that the only thing that we have to do is go to the nail parlor here and get our nails done? I've never seen anything. She's blew away. Okay, now I have to ask. In the past week, by a show of your hands, how many of us have gone to the nail parlor to have our nails done? And how many have an appointment this week? So where is it written that you have to do that? Now the other thing that confused me, this part of the country is known as the land of the birds. The snowbirds. And what's the other one? The early birds, the early bird dinners. So when I told people in Omaha that I'm going to be coming right here to southern Florida, the first thing they said to me, so Andy, what time are you going to eat? 4 o'clock to 6 So I actually looked at the restaurants. Can somebody please tell me where there's an early bird special? I can't find one. What happened to the early bird specials? When I used to come to visit my father, he always took me out. He says, Andy, we have to stop what we're doing. The afternoon is coming. No, we're not going to Mincha. Don't worry. We have to go to the early bird dinner. And that's exactly where we went. No more early bird dinners. I don't know what happened. They're here. Fine. After the show, please see me. I need to know. Now, the other thing, there's another Jewish tradition that we all follow here that I think is amazing, and only a few people follow it in Omaha, Nebraska. And that is the very popular game of Mahjong. Have you heard my pitch before? Mahjong. And I did some research, and here's something you probably don't know, believe it or not. There's a little midrash, which is really hard to find, that the game of Mahjong actually started. You won't believe this? No, it wasn't China. It wasn't Confucius. Look it up on the internet, because whatever is on the internet is true. Mahjong started in Noah's Ark. Now I understand why there's so much rain here. When it rains, people go out and we play Mahjong. It is just something that is totally unbelievable. But do I love living here as a Jewish person in this part of the country? You bet. There is no other place where I can see such friendly people. And the thing that really inspires me is how safe everybody drives. No, I'm being very serious with you, because we had in Nebraska, we had something called tailgating when you went to the football game. That was a lot of fun. What do we do here? We tailgate on the roads. Whatever happened to spacing? But the driving is so safe. Nobody beeps their horn. Everybody has their patience. I just think that's a wonderful way to live. Am I right or wrong? Yeah. So I don't know where it's written that we have to drive like crazy people, but when you leave here, please be respectful to the other person who's driving an automobile. There's a life in the family in front of you, there's a life in the family behind you, and we'd all love to come to the next session of the educational process. But coming here to South Florida is absolutely the best thing that we have ever done. In my community, I was looking for Jews. I realized then when I got there, when I looked at all the names, 85% of my community is Jewish, and there's over 1,000 homes. And that's why we call it your Jewish Chag. Because how many of us really enjoyed celebrating the New Year? Please raise your hands. How many of us really celebrated the New Year? So here's my question. Today is January 6th. Let's continue to celebrate. It's still the New Year. And I've often wondered when something no longer is brand new, when something becomes new, or when something becomes used. every day, we need to take a look at the Chai. We need to take a look at life. And we need to say to ourselves, what are we going to do today to live a very, very enjoyable Chai life? And the answer is very simple. Do something that's fun. Do something that's fulfilling. Do something that brings laughter to other people. Because I'm going to conclude with one thing. There is something that each and every one of us in this room has done a lot of when we were younger. As we get older, we do less and less and less of it. And it's not what you think I'm thinking. It's laughing. When we were younger, we used to laugh 300 times a day. Today, people say we laugh 15 times. Just in this little time, each and every one of us has laughed at least 7 times. It was fun. It was easy. We laughed with each other. We laughed at some jokes. We laughed at some truth. What we want to do to have a great Jewish Chai is to get back to the days when we did it a lot, when we enjoyed it, when we showed off, when we bragged. So the challenge that we have for everybody is today, 15 laughs, if not more. Tomorrow, 30 laughs. And let's get back to that childhood age. That childhood age when we woke up in the morning full of ambition, full of excitement, full of smiles, and laughed 300 times a day. Because when that happens, we are going to live a wonderful Jewish Chai. Now, can you hear me? No. And I did that on purpose. Because my next guest is an amazing individual. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a native New Yorker that was born to deaf parents who immigrated from New York to New York from Germany in 1937. He has a doctorate from the University of New York at Buffalo. He taught at the North Carolina School for the Deaf in Morganton, and he supervised a secondary program in St. Mary's School for the Deaf in Buffalo. His resume is loaded with magnificent accomplishments in his life, and the fact that he could not hear anything did not dissuade him from doing great stuff in his life. But here's what I love about him. Here's where I think he is doing the most magnificent thing for each and every one of us. He is involved in different capacities. He's involved with the National Congress of Jewish Deaf. He's involved with the Empire State Association of the Deaf. He's involved with the Jewish Deaf Congress. He's involved with the Hebrew Association of the Deaf. And lastly, because of this gentleman that you are about to meet, this year, the deaf community in this area will have a place to daven. They'll have a place to pray. They'll have a place to do Seder for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Because it comes from his heart, it comes from his background. And I am exceptionally pleased to go ahead and to introduce you to a person that I want to be like, and I hope each and every one of us will have that same aspiration after we learn more about him. Let me please introduce and give him a beautiful, honorable applause to Mr. Martin Florsheim. And Carol, my wife, will be doing the interpreting. I will be asking some questions, and then Carol will go ahead and interpret for everyone. You have to push the button on the bottom. And we will be ready to go.
So before he gets started, there's something called lag time. Martin will be signing, and I'm what you call 85% receptive to signing. So I'll understand most of the things that he's saying, but it will take me time to convert it and tell you. So I hope you have a little bit of patience.
So, congratulations.
Congratulations. You talk.
Well, that's right. I am talking. You interpret. Congratulations on living such a fulfilling life. What drives you?
Really, the first, we want to thank Andy. for having me here today. And I want to share why I've come here today and where he's coming from. He's from New York, and he moved to Las Vegas